And guys, you won't believe the story behind this coin and this silver round, of how it ties in to the very fabric of the history of the United States of America, and it's a fulfillment of biblical prophecy.
We have with us Nehemia Gordon back with us, and we are searching out some of the greatest treasures that have been hidden. Some of these things hidden by God to preserve it for this day and time, and these are the things being revealed. Good to have you back with us this week.
Great to be back, Michael. You know, some things are sometimes hidden in plain sight. So we were talking last time about this coin that was produced by King of Denmark. Ironically, his name was Christian IV. And Christian IV of Denmark produced these coins that had Yehovah with the full vowels in Hebrew, produced in the 1640s. And on the coin, he also has the phrase Justus Judex, which is a Latin phrase, which translates from the Hebrew Shofet Tzedek. And that comes from a verse in the Bible or number of verses, but one of them, for example, is Jeremiah 11:20. It says, Vayehovah tzvaot Shofet Tzedek. Yehovah of hosts is the righteous judge. And so, why did this king put Yehovah's name on a coin? And this has to do with the context that was going on at that time in Europe. This was the time of these great wars that were happening in Europe, these wars between the Protestants and the Catholics. And the Protestants in particular wanted to say, God's on our side. And of course, the Catholics said the same thing. And when the Catholics would express that, one of the ways they would do that was through art. And they would say, oh, God's on our side. Let's make a ceiling with God as an old man with a white beard, who's touching Adam, right? In other words, they used art and they were representing Yehovah through as a man, right? Because was their artistic tradition. And the Protestants said, well, wait a minute, that's forbidden. And why is it forbidden? Because it says in Deuteronomy, you didn't see a man in the day of the congregation, meaning the day of the revelation of Sinai. And the Protestants said that we're going to take that literally and not make an image of the Father. And so instead they represented Yehovah by his name. Mm-hmm. And what's really interesting is recently a friend went and visited the Museum of the Bible in Washington, D.C., and they have there on display a page from the original 1611 King James Version. And I actually want to say it's from the 1613 reprint, but I don't remember the exact details, but it's from one of the early versions of the King James, and it has this image of the biblical world, essentially. And at the top is, in the cloud, Yehovah, with the full vowels. So you're seeing this in books, you're seeing it on coins, you're seeing it in all kinds of different places, in churches in a lot of places. We talked about that in the Karaite Files. All over you're seeing Yehovah's name in Europe at this time. And part of the reason is because of the struggle between the Catholics and the Protestants. So we mentioned this coin made by Christian IV of Denmark. And one of the things I wanted for years is to actually have one of these coins. When I was younger, Michael, I was kind of a coin nerd. I collected coins. Well, this was well beyond my means to have a coin like this, but what I decided to do is contact a mint in Utah and have them make a replica of the coin. This is the silver round, 1 troy ounce of silver that I had produced at a mint in Utah, and it was based on these coins from the 1640s. And it says Justus Judex, righteous judge, referring to Psalm 9:5 and Jeremiah 11:20 and certain verses in the New Testament. And then in the middle it says Yehovah with the full vowels. On the back it says, my name is great among the nations, in Hebrew and English, Malachi 1:11. And I put this out and made this available to people. And this actually ties into the history of the United States in an incredible way, which I did not expect when I started looking at this and working on this. So when the United States was founded, we did not have a currency. And the Continental Congress had this crisis. There were dozens of different coins being used throughout the 13 colonies. And they had to make a decision. Okay, you merchant, do whatever you want. You decide to take the currency from Sweden and the currency from Holland and the currency from wherever, and you do what you want. But the Treasury of the United States has to have a standard of what currency they'll accept at what values. Well, today, if you want to know the value of a currency, you go online and you check at international Forex, the exchange rates, right, which are constantly fluctuating. Well, it didn't work that way back then. The standard coin that was used throughout the colonies and really throughout much of the world was the Spanish pilar, or piece of 8. That was the standard coin, and that eventually became the US dollar. But we're talking 1776 before the Constitution. So they commissioned Thomas Jefferson to go study all the coins that were being used and decides which ones would be valid to be accepted as official currency in the United States. And he made a list. And the really cool thing here, Michael, is he made a handwritten list that was presented to the Continental Congress on September 2nd, 1776, right? So remember, July 4th, 1776 is Declaration of Independence. The Continental Congress is still meeting before there's a Constitution, years before there's a Constitution. The war is just gearing up. The American War of Independence, or as the British thought, the rebellion. September 2nd, 1776. This is approved by the Continental Congress, listing of series of different currencies. And I can actually show the people here the page in the actual handwriting of Thomas Jefferson. Michael, I read about this years ago, but as I was trying to produce this replica of the coin in silver, I said, I want to see the page for myself, what I read about years ago. And I found in the Library of Congress, they have this handwritten document approved by the Continental Congress, written by Thomas Jefferson, and it lists the different currencies. And you can actually see here at the top, it says silver coins. It says the pilar, piece of 8, and that is the unit or dollar. And they're talking about the Spanish dollar, not the U.S. dollar, the Spanish piece of 8. And it lists different coins, and it has here the English guinea and various other coins. And later on, it says the ducat of Holland, the ducat of Germany, the ducat of Sweden, and the ducat of Denmark. The ducat of Denmark, one of the list of coins that was official currency in the United States when it was established as a nation, essentially even before it was fully established, before the Constitution, was this coin with the name of Yehovah on it. So this was true money, accepted at the time as an equivalent in varying proportions to the Spanish dollar. And I mean, I read that and I'm like blown away. So here you have a king in Denmark. He doesn't know there's going to be colonies 100 years later that will use his coin, but it becomes used in circulation, and it's so recognizable that it becomes one of the coins used by merchants. And they say the ducat of Denmark, that's official currency.
That was September 2nd, which is exactly 2 months after we declared our independence from England, which is 2 days before the Declaration of Independence, the document, was actually signed. But it was 2 months, July 2nd to September 2nd, and his name is made great among the nations.
I mean, this is a fulfillment of prophecy that we can see unfolding before us in the record of history.
Well, Nehemia, will you close with putting the name on the people?
Absolutely. Yehovah, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to come and share this with the people, to learn about how your name was glorified among the nations. Yevarechecha Yehovah v'yishmerecha. Ya'er Yehovah panav elecha v'yichuneka. Yisa Yehovah panav elecha. V'yasem lecha shalom. May Yehovah give you peace. Amen.
You have been listening to Hebrew Voices with Nehemia Gordon. Thank you for supporting Nehemia's Makor Hebrew Foundation. Learn more at nehemiaswall.com.